many in our community are suffering, and my team and I are grateful to have the opportunity to serve and help to the extent we can. And today I'm energized, and this is a symbolic moment that is happening every hour before, during, and after every storm. The level of collaboration from our federal government, state government, county, and city, it gives me hope and it energizes me, and we will hear State Representative Jean Wu, who we share this district as we do with Congresswoman Fletcher, everything that he can do to pull down the state resources and to amazing partners such as the Houston Food Bank. So thank you, Mr. Green, for being here with your team and helping us get the supplies that we are able to distribute. And I want to thank Mayor Whitmire. He was scheduled to be here with us today, and our teams have been in constant communication throughout this storm, and generally he's still at council, so he was unable to join us today, but they are doing so much at the City of Houston to partner with the county, with the state, and the federal government, so I'm thankful for his leadership. And we do have, speaking of additional federal leadership, we have Sarah Jones, who's here representing Senator John Cornyn's office, so thank you, Ms. Jones, for joining us. Today, we are here at Bayland Community Center in the heart of Harris County Precinct 4 and our respective districts. This is one of our 5 cooling centers for Harris County Precinct 4, and it is one of 2 distribution centers. We had families lined up, both a walk-in line and a car line, hours prior to the launch. We know the need is tremendous. We have over 125 people here today. We have had pets in and out here, and know that everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome. No questions asked. We are here. You don't need to suffer in the heat. We know that over 1.3 million people are still without power, and with a heat index of approximately 103 to 108 throughout the afternoon, the heat is oppressive. Our own home, we still don't have power, and as a mom of 3 little girls, I feel your pain, and my heart is breaking for so many of the children we are seeing coming to Bayland and the other centers in Precinct 4. And I'm really thankful to our teams who, minutes as soon as it was clear to get onto the roads, they left their own homes without power, their own families, their own roofs that were damaged to come and serve. And all of the first responders in the City of Houston and our other partner cities, the county, and our state partners and federal partners, I thank them. And to me, this gives me hope, because when we can harness the power of government to deliver the services that people need as effectively and efficiently as possible, it will never be fast enough, and we have a lot of room for improvement. But know that all of us here, we are all in, and we will do everything possible to deliver the services. And I want to say, as we are all in the midst, and I'm sorry I'm out of breath, I was out there distributing, it is so hot. We have seen in Beryl, for instance, Project Braze, which was a partnership, and thank you for your advocacy, Congresswoman Fletcher, thank you to the Army Corps of Engineers. We saw the positive impact, how the flood mitigation projects that we are completing have been helping. Again, there's so much work to be done, but this is a clear reminder that we not only need to respond for the issues of today, but we need to make sure we're investing in longer-term systemic level solutions to improve the resiliency of Harris County and beyond. We have so much work to be done with regard to the grid here in Texas, and as county leadership, what we are doing, I'll give you a few quick examples. 1, we passed a climate action plan to reduce the county's own emissions. 2, we have been applying for federal grants, and I'm so thankful again to President Biden and his administration, Harris County and a Texas coalition. We just received on Earth Day the wonderful news that we're getting $250 million in a Solar for All program to invest in solar energy for our most vulnerable residents, which will also help us create more independence from a grid that we know is not working the way it needs to and the way the people deserve. Those are a couple of examples we are working on. We've been applying for grants for backup generators, for solar panels on our community centers so that we can be more resilient, so we can better serve our community. We are the energy capital of the world, and that is Harris County's superpower. And county leadership is committed to partnering with the state and federal government so that we are not only the energy capital of the world, but we are the global leader in leading innovation and improvement with regard to the energy transition. It's a both-and proposition, and our children and our grandchildren deserve that we are doing everything both today and always thinking about the future. And in our own homes, we need to challenge ourselves to see what we can do to help reduce our own emissions. Because climate change, we are seeing the catastrophic effects, and we all need to do our part to be a part of the solution. So very, very briefly, thank you, in Spanish. Best press secretary in government, Sion Rhodes, thank you. Thank you very much. Ahora, muy brevemente en español, gracias a todos ustedes por estar aquí. Quiero dar las gracias al alcalde de la ciudad de Houston, el alcalde John Whitmire y todo su equipo que están ayudando tanto por toda la ciudad de Houston, y estamos en contacto siempre porque necesitamos que la ciudad y el condado trabajen juntos, y también estamos en contacto siempre con estos representantes del estado de Texas, el representante Jean Wu, la congresista increíble que tenemos, la congresista Lesley Fletcher. También tenemos una representante del senador John Cornyn, Sarah Jones. Muchas gracias, señora Jones. Y también tenemos el presidente y director del Banco de Alimentos de Houston, Brian Green. Y su equipo son totalmente increíbles. Sabemos que estamos en esto juntos y trabajamos en equipo con nuestros aliados. La respuesta del gobierno ante esta emergencia ha sido increíble, y la cooperación de la ciudad, condado, estado y el gobierno federal. Y muchas gracias por esta alianza. También muchas gracias a la alianza, por ejemplo, todas las organizaciones como el Houston Food Bank, como representantes, and I will do this part in English too, thanking all our partners in a second. Pero sabemos que estamos en esto juntos. Beryl alcanzó la categoría 1 del huracán, y sabemos que todavía 1.3 millones de personas de nuestra comunidad están sufriendo sin electricidad. También en mi casa, como mamá de 3 hijas, yo entiendo lo que están sufriendo, y por eso mi equipo y yo del Condado Jerez, Precinto 4, tenemos este centro comunitario Bayland como centro de enfriamiento. Y también tenemos 5 centros de enfriamiento por el Precinto 4. Y además también estamos distribuyendo comida y agua aquí afuera, y también lo vamos a hacer mañana aquí en Bayland y en Raddick 11 a 1 cada día. Y ojalá mañana, si Dios quiere, vamos a tener hielo. Pero hoy no llegó el hielo. Yo sé que mucha gente estaba batallando de encontrar hielo, y mucha gente ha perdido todo lo que tenían en la refrigeradora. Yo sé que están sufriendo. Estamos aquí con ustedes no solamente en el inmediato, pero estamos invirtiendo el condado para proteger la resiliencia del condado para el futuro, porque sabemos que todos estos cambios en clima nos están afectando tanto. Y todos nosotros tenemos que unir para ser parte de la solución. Estoy muy orgullosa del Condado Jerez, y somos los líderes de la energía en el mundo, pero también tenemos que ser los líderes en la transición de la energía. Podemos hacer las dos cosas, y eso es lo que nuestros hijos y todas nuestras familias merecen. In English, I want to thank some of the other partners who have just stepped up in amazing form. It is a long list, and I just want to thank everybody who has stepped up, and we are getting calls and just offers to volunteer and additional donations. So if you're watching this and you're interested, you can reach out to Harris County Precinct 4 at 927-4444. Again, thank you to our governmental partners at all levels of government. Thank you to the Houston Food Bank, we'll hear from shortly. I want to thank HEB. As a proud native Texan, HEB to me is one of the pillars of this great state, and they have stepped up yet again in grand form. Thank you, HEB, for everything you do to be a true partner. Thank you to Walmart, who has also stepped up, Coca-Cola, AT&T, Comcast, and so many partners are continuing to call and offer assistance. The truth is, this is an all-hands-on-deck situation, and we need more assistance. We also have a nonprofit stood up, Precinct 4 Forward, which is a 501c3 public charity, if anyone would like to help in that way. We also need volunteers for our cooling centers and distribution sites. You can find that information on our website. We welcome the help. Y en español, muy brevemente, todos los aliados, estamos muy agradecidos. Por ejemplo, ya estamos hablando del Houston Food Bank, también HEB, que es increíble siempre, y yo creo que son uno de los líderes más importantes en el estado de Texas y nos están ayudando mucho. Walmart también, Coca-Cola, AT&T, y hay varias llamadas cada momento de gente como ustedes que quieren ayudar con su tiempo, con una donación. Estamos en esto juntos, y juntos vamos a sobrevivir y vamos a ser más fuertes. We're in this together, and together we must continue uniting, because we will survive this storm, and together we will strengthen the resiliency of this region. So without further ado, it gives me great pride to introduce somebody I deeply admire, somebody who's my congressperson, Congresswoman Lesley Fletcher.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Briones, for your leadership, your incredible leadership, your partnership. I love getting to work with you, and I'm so grateful for your service, for your commitment, and you just really exemplify what it means to be a leader and a servant leader in our community. So thank you so much. The same for you, Representative Wu. I am so privileged to be able to represent the communities with both of them in Texas's 7th Congressional District, and to work as partners at the county level, to work to affect change at the state level with Representative Wu and other members of our delegation. Of course, to work with the city of Houston, and I've been in touch with Mayor Whitmire this morning again. I'm sorry not to be, that he's not here with us this morning, but he's still in council, as Commissioner said, and really the city of Houston's responses has been incredible. I've also worked with our city council members as well, and just the communication, the collaboration is the theme just about every time we come together in a disaster, which frankly seems like it has been all too often here in Houston lately. And I know that people are exhausted, and they are tired, and they are frustrated, and we all want to see as quickly as possible the power back on and the long-term solutions that we need here in our community. And I just want to take a minute while I'm here to share a little bit of the news about the federal response and what we are doing in Washington, what we're doing from our congressional delegation. But before I start with some of the federal resources and federal information, I want to add to my thanks to all the incredible partners that are here, that are supporting this cooling center here at Bayland, which is open, which people can come to now. Both the food distribution, the Houston Food Bank, what an incredible resource in this community and across our region. I mean, the reach of the Houston Food Bank is so broad over so many counties and does such incredible work. We're so lucky to have them. The partners, of course, that Commissioner Briones listed, and the members of our community who are showing up for each other. That is what we see every time there's a major disaster. There are people who want to help, who are looking for ways to be helpful, whether they're helping neighbors clear the debris in their yards, whether they're bringing friends and family into their homes to stay, whether they are volunteering at centers like this. And I want to encourage everyone who is here and without power to come to centers like this. There are centers here in Precinct 4. We have 5 centers. We also have City of Houston cooling centers, and there are other centers throughout our community. There's information available. And it's so important to get out of the heat, to stay hydrated, to make sure that people are taking care of themselves and their families. And I agree with Commissioner Briones. The need is so great, and to see everyone suffering in this heat. It's something that we have to respond to in this moment, and we're seeing it, but we also have to invest in these long-term solutions. And of course, those who are out there who have been responding, our first responders, incredibly brave first responders who have been out taking care of us throughout this disaster, the frontline workers, and all of the incredible community partners and people across our community. I think in moments like this, we see how much we depend on each other, how much we care about each other, and how much when we work together, we can accomplish for our community. But I want everyone here to know that we are not alone, that people across the country care about what's happening here. And on Monday morning, first thing, I heard from the White House and from folks who wanted to make sure that we had the resources we need. As many of you may know, the federal government had resources acceleration, as Commissioner Briones mentioned. And while the details are still being worked out and we'll have more to announce soon, I think it's really important to understand that that will unlock so many resources and so many opportunities for folks here in Harris County. So the information on that is imminent, and for people who want to see what assistance will be available, you can look at disasterassistance.gov. That's the website, disasterassistance.gov, for information about what's coming. As I said, FEMA has had boots on the ground since May and is working very closely with the state. Of course, very grateful to our state leaders and others who got that disaster declaration up to the president. And also, just yesterday, I was able to meet with other representatives of the federal government who are doing things as well that people here might not even realize. But I met with the FCC commissioner, chair of the FCC, Rosenworcel, who told me that the FCC sent people down here over the weekend to make sure that our telecommunications infrastructure was still operable. And partially, we have people on the ground to help with restoration. We also have new rules in place. There was a new FCC rule implemented in May that requires telecommunications providers to have backup power so that we can stay in contact in emergencies like this, so that people can get access to the internet so they know where the cooling centers are, so that they can get on the phone and call friends and family and make sure that they are able to get help and resources that they need. And so I'm very, very grateful for that forward-looking and focus on making sure that in moments like this, we have the resources we need. As Commissioner Briones said, there's much more to do, and we're continuing to do that work to identify those needs. And from our community, so many of those ideas have been brought. I'm proud to bring our ideas for positive improvements to Washington and to help really make change. And there are a couple of things I want to highlight that we've done in addition to that and that kind of work. As Commissioner Briones mentioned, we saw that Project Braze really made the difference for so many people in our community, and that we were able to complete that project. That was a 20-year federal project to increase capacity. I've been working constantly with Harris County Flood Control and with the commissioners, with people across our region to address flooding. And we know that we need to do many, many things, and it's many projects, big and small, to address and increase capacity for stormwater and for rainwater. And so what we also know, and I'm very proud to say that Harris County Flood Control reported back to us that the new Meyer Grove Detention Basin, which was a collaborative project between the city, the county, and the federal government, where I asked for and received the funds through congressional appropriations to add this detention basin, that served an important role in detaining water in this storm. It's not even finished yet. Construction is ongoing, but that was able to detain water, and all of those things help make the difference. So continuing to identify those needs and to work together to bring all the resources together is really, really important. I've also heard from and met with other agencies. Of course, we've been on, I met personally with the Region 6 Administrator for HUD yesterday. She's a fellow Texan and very focused on making sure that we get the assistance that we need. Also the SBA, of course, which is such a great resource here in Houston. As soon as we know, as soon as we have more details, we will share them. But I do want to share a couple of thoughts right now about what we need for our federal response. Right now, people should, if they haven't already, be sure that they are documenting their losses. That's really, really important. Document the damage to homes. take photos of any damage, make a list of losses, save all repair receipts ahead of any inspections. If you have insurance, be sure to photograph the make, model, and serial number of appliances, and just make sure that you have all of that information documented. Now, residents are encouraged to report that damage through the Individual State Assessment Tool, ISTAT, which can be accessed at damage.tdem.texas.gov. This is absolutely critical because we need to make sure we document all of the damage here in our area, and that gets reported up and unlocks additional federal resources. So to get those resources here, we want to make sure that we have really the scope of the damage. And so every person can respond and document and hopefully submit that as they have internet access and power. You can also download the FEMA smartphone application, so I just want to make sure that people have that at FEMA.gov, www.fema.gov. More information will be available on that site very, very soon. They are working out the details as we speak. And I think that it's really important. We will continue to update on my website. We have a list of resources and information for residents of Congressional District 7, certainly, but people across our region can access my website with links to Commissioner's website, other information, and certainly the federal resources that are available. And I think it's just absolutely critical that we all do everything we can to stay in touch with our friends and neighbors to help people make sure that they have the information they need and that they get to places like this. And so, as Commissioner Briones said, we are here in this moment, and I'm so incredibly grateful to her for bringing us together here and for making sure that these 5 centers exist and working collaboratively to help others make sure that there are other centers across our community while people are in need. I also want to just encourage folks to stay connected, to make sure that they have access to the resources that we have, the information that we have. We will continue to share the federal response, but I want everyone to know I will, of course, continue to work in the short term to get the resources we need right now in this moment and to work on these long-term projects like the completion of Project Braze, like the Meyer Grove Detention Basin, like the other projects that we have submitted. Those do represent exactly what we're here talking about this morning, collaboration between the city, the county, the state, the federal government. It's going to take all of us, and I want to assure everyone here that people across the Biden administration and fellow members of Congress, our congressional delegation from Houston, Harris County, and our region are very much focused on working together and making sure that we get through this crisis and that we get the resources we need in the short and long term. So it's an incredible privilege to represent this community, to work with these incredible leaders, and we are all here for you. If there's anything that I can do, certainly our team is taking phone calls and making sure, even though everyone on our team has been without power too, we've got folks in Washington there to answer the phones, so you can call my office anytime or visit my website, fletcher.house.gov, that has more information and all of our phone numbers and all of that information that you might need. So fletcher.house.gov. I'll continue to work with FEMA, SBA, HUD, continue to work with the Biden administration, and continue to work with you to make sure that we document everything that we need, that we get all of the federal assistance that we can. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Commissioner Briones, for bringing us together. Thank you, Representative Wu, for your incredible work, and I'm very glad to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Gene Wu, State Rep for House District 137, which is this area right here. It pains me to have to come and say this again in such a short amount of time, because this is what I said last time and every time, but Houston is at its best when the world is at its worst, and I don't think this is any different. In the last few days, I've seen neighbors helping neighbors clear out their yards, pick up things, cut trees down. We've seen people just stopped on the side of the road, picking up debris out of the roadway so other cars can drive through. We've seen people drive courteously through all the downed intersections. We've had our elected officials work nonstop around the clock to stand up these distribution centers and cooling centers and take care of each other. And that is what we're supposed to be doing, and that is why Houston is the best. And there is going to be a time when we talk about accountability, how the response happened, everything else, what we're going to do in the future. We can talk about how to use our state's massive surplus to start burying some of these power lines in the ground instead of doing this every 3 months, right? We can do that, but for right now, the survival of our city is the only thing that matters, okay? Make sure if you have power at home, if you have power, call every friend you know, call every family member you know. Make sure that if they don't have power, that they know that they can come to you. Tell them, don't be a martyr. Don't be a fool. The heat will creep up on you, right? By the time you realize that you're not feeling well, it may already be too late. Don't use up our 911 service. Don't use up our EMS service, our fire service, our police service. Get yourself out of the danger. Take yourself to either a cooling center here or at Lakewood Church or at the city centers or at your friend's house or your family's house. Go somewhere. Don't play games. Don't take the risk. Just survive. Let's get through these next few days and we'll come back together and we'll fight for a better Houston. I'm sorry, and up next is Mark Green from the Houston Food Bank.
Thank you very much, Congress. Representative Wu. Hi, I'm Brian Green, President of Houston Food Bank. I want to thank all the partners that we work with, and especially the city government and the county commissioners. These community centers, as a partner, works really well for us. We try and do everything by kind of standing behind the scenes and working with neighborhood organizations and the government to get resources to people who need it when they need it. We have on our website, if you go to houstonfoodbank.org, you can look and you do the Hurricane Beryl tab. If you need assistance, there are 50 sites that have now been set up to provide emergency disaster relief specifically for this need. I really want to thank all those organizations who stepped up to do extra work. Special shout out, I think, to Bethel's Heavenly Hands, who wins the award for getting fastest back in the action to serve their neighbors. We absolutely could not do this without these organizations. Also want to mention that Galveston County Food Bank and Montgomery County Food Bank are providing those same services in those two respective counties. And I also want to point out is according to the latest survey, about 50% of Houston households these are working households, but they're not making a lot of money. They're making enough money to get by paycheck to paycheck, and something like this can have a huge impact. And we want you to know that we really want to help you when these times come, so you can get back on your feet as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Green, for everything that you and your team do and how you can bring together so many partner organizations to just respond so quickly and with such excellence. We're grateful. And I echo United Way's 211 is a great way. If you're struggling with different facets, they can connect you to services that you need. So the bottom line is that know that we're working across levels of government with partner organizations in the community. We're here for you now, and we will be here for you after the storm. And my partner said it best, right? This is what we do in Harris County. Unfortunately, because we are hit with disaster after disaster, we come together, we unite, we take care of each other. So please do that. Again, the heat is oppressive outside. Do not suffer in the heat. Go to a friend or family's house. Come to the cooling centers that the city and the county and other partner organizations have. We're here for you, we work for you, and we're here to serve you. So thank you so much. If there's any questions, Sian will help moderate.
Do you think that the state's on the same page as the city? Because having lived through a number of disasters here in Houston myself, there seems to be a bit of a delay when Houston has needs. And it seems to be very reflective of sort of the state versus urban politics in our state.
Our state leader will respond.
Look, there will be plenty of time for discussions and accusations and settlements of whatever issues have occurred during this disaster. I certainly hope that there is not a difference in the state's response rate based on where the disaster happens. But if that is the case, that's something we will need to discuss. But for right now, this is not the time and place to talk about that. This is purely about let's make sure all Houstonians and everyone who's affected is safe and that we get power turned back on. And after that, we need to figure out how this happened and how to prevent it from happening again. Not the hurricane, but having just a sporadic loss of our power grid on a regular basis.
This is then more of a question of what's right in front of our nose.
Right.
I have to be honest, I've been very frustrated with the obfuscation and downright just it's not clear from Centerpoint as to when they're going to have progress. I get a lot of hedging, but not actual good answers.
So look, I think in terms of like I know a lot of people are mad at Centerpoint. I know the mayor's made comments about it and things like that. I have not seen the evidence that they're doing something different this time that they did the last 2 or 3 times, right? From my perspective, I feel like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I think it's important to note that their website that gives information not working is not the same thing as there are no linemen out putting lines back up. I want them to put lines back up. The website, if they have it, it's great, but I care about the power. I don't care about the website, right?
What does the city? I get more clarity from Whataburger than I do from Centerpoint.
Yeah, and look, I'm not here to defend Centerpoint. I'm certainly not here to defend their website, but I think what we need to be looking at is the actual power being turned on and not how the website functions, right? Let's focus on the core things. And again, this is a problem that we can discuss after, right? How well their website works, how well they get information out to the public. We can have the discussion. They've admitted today that many residents received text messages saying their power was turned on when in fact it had not. Those are all errors that were preventable, but those are not life-threatening errors. Let's focus on the things that take away our families' and friends' lives.
I just want, I'll respond to that briefly because I've been on the phone with Centerpoint and I've certainly heard the concerns and the frustration, and I too have looked at the Whataburger app and appreciate the deep concerns there. I did ask Centerpoint specifically about the tracker. Their long-range plan is to have that tracker function back up at the end of July, which does not help us right now, but last night, they published a new tracker online that is a restoration tracker, so people can go and look at that tracker. My understanding, and I'm sure you all know this, that obviously our entire community, the entire county, and a broader region was impacted in this storm. So with 2.2 million people out of service, that is a challenge that has taken longer than it did after the derecho to assess the damage. But they've had crews out assessing the damage since 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon when it was safe to go out. They have crews that are here. But for people who are looking for information, which is really what everybody wants right now, what's the information? How long is this going to be? I know that for me, I was out of power for 3 weeks after Ike. I know people are concerned and want an estimate and want to know what kind of short-term and medium-term and long-term plans they need to make. So Centerpoint did publish that tracker online last night. It's going to provide initial restoration status to customers. CenterPoint's estimate is that by the end of today, it's projecting that 1 million customers will have their power restored. And later this afternoon, they plan to have a more definitive restoration timeline for the remaining customers. So I just want that information to be shared, that people can start to look there at CenterPoint's resources. I do think there's a longer and broader discussion about how we make sure we have that information sooner and how we work together to make sure that we are doing preventative maintenance, making sure that we've done everything we can. And I do agree with Representative Wu, making sure that our state is utilizing some of those rainy day funds wisely and investing them in the rainiest part of the state. And also that we're being smart about federal investments and that we are seeking some of the funds and programs out of what was the most productive Congress in the last 100 years. The last Congress that I served in, the Biden administration has been rolling out program after program. And one of the things that's important is that on my team, we have put together a grants resources page to show all of the kinds of things that we are doing. There are infrastructure grants, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Principal objectives are to help make a more resilient infrastructure across the country, and certainly we need that here. So there are federal resources we're applying across our community, working with the county, working with the cities, working with everybody to make sure that those federal dollars can come back in terms of long-term investments as well. And so utilizing the state funds, utilizing the federal funds to make sure that our grid is more resilient, that our infrastructure is more resilient are absolutely top priorities and things we need to keep working on. It's a good question, it's a good point, but for folks who are looking for information, there should be some up now.
Driving in Houston seems to be very dangerous when the power is on. Driving right now is a near death experience.
That's for us to say.
What would you like to see? I have not seen a single officer directing traffic. I have not seen an intersection with anybody helping people get through. Is that something you'd like to see?
It's not possible.
You can answer.
I mean, we can have the police chief help answer that question, but I don't think that's remotely possible. I mean, like we're talking tens of thousands of intersections in the city. I mean, there's just not enough officers. I mean, we can go get the police academy recruits too, but that's only yeah. But I think the intersections when the power's out, everyone knows that it turns to a four-way stop. Or mostly everyone, let's say.
Well, let's repeat that.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, if an intersection has no light, no blinking lights, no lights of any kind, it turns into a four-way stop. You treat it like a four-way stop. That's it, right? And if you're not sure, they'll see what the car next to you is doing and do what they do. So far, everyone's managed to not be idiots, like on the road. I feel like people are nicer when they're driving, because like everyone has to stop at every intersection. Yeah, you go faster if you want. You're not going anywhere. So, look, we're going to get through this, and we're going to get through this by being Houstonians. We're going to get through this by being Texans. We're tough, and we help each other, and we make sure the job gets done. Let's just do it.
Can you speak a little bit about what's being distributed today at what are supplies, foods, and I know you mentioned that ice, you were going to get ice and you didn't get it today.
Yes, so we, again, thanks to our partners with the Houston Food Bank, HEB, Walmart, Coca-Cola, and beyond, we have water and food. And approximately, and these numbers were from when we had first started, approximately 500 people have been helped at this distribution site and approximately 500 at the other one that we have in Precinct 4. Tomorrow, we should be able to have ice in addition to the food and water, and the Texas Department of Emergency Management has been very helpful working with the county so that they can augment the supplies we have to distribute. So we're waiting on those supplies, and meanwhile, again, our corporate and nonprofit partners have really stepped up. So I invite everybody to the 5 cooling centers. Again, you don't need to suffer in the heat.
Yep.
And the distribution centers, we will continue them throughout the week. And in addition to what Harris County Precinct 4 is doing, please look to see what the other precincts are doing, as well as the City of Houston and so many other nonprofits. But I couldn't agree more with my colleagues. We must come together, whether it's the safety and patience at an intersection, keep yourself, your family, and your neighbors safe, whether it's at your home, Go knock on your neighbor's door, especially if you have seniors living in your neighborhood. This is what Houstonians and Harris County residents do best. We come together during storms. So we're with you. We're all in focusing on longer-term investments, on enhanced collaboration with all levels of government. But right now, what we need to do, all the energy, the frustration we feel, we need to channel that into positive action to help
Right.
ourselves, our families, and others. That's what we need to focus on right now. Any other questions? I have been inside with y'all. Can one of my team members who has just come in from outside, can they report, please? We will answer that as soon as possible. But it was scheduled from 11 to 1, and we knew we had to put that truncated window given the availability that we had access to. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll get back to you. One more second. I know Telemundo had. Sí.
Este es un centro de enfriamiento.
Sí.
La gente puede venir. ¿Hasta qué horas está abierto? Y están pensando tener un lugar donde la gente pueda dormir. No se lo está perdiendo un momento, pero un lugar donde mis hijos, mi familia puedan dormir.
Sí, estamos trabajando en eso para un centro del condado donde pueden dormir, pero hay otros centros aquí en el condado, pero no del condado. Pero aquí este centro de enfriamiento y los otros 4 que tenemos están abiertos 9 a 6 y vamos a estar aquí hoy y toda la semana y por favor, todos están bienvenidos y todos están invitados. Sí, no, es muy difícil y la verdad es que lo entiendo mucho. Estamos trabajando de conseguir cots para que podamos tener un ambiente que es más que nuestras familias merecen. Estamos trabajando en eso, pero la verdad en este momento no puedo confirmar, pero estamos trabajando en eso. She asked, oh, do y'all want me to translate what I just said in English or no? So basically the question was, what time does the cooling center close? This cooling center and the other 4 from Precinct 4 are from 9 to 6. Her question was, what about overnight places? That would be my dream. We're working to see if we can get access to the cots to make it as comfortable as possible for the families, and we also need for our staff. Our staff are also suffering with their homes, their roofs, their families, and so staffing is a challenge. So the more folks that want to volunteer and donate, the more we can do, because again, we're all in, but we really need the support, not only from our government partners and nonprofit partners, but from the community. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for sharing these resources. I got to go back to Center Point. Have they been adequately prepared for this storm? Have they done their due diligence in hardening the system against weather like this?
They're working hard, and there's a lot more we can do moving forward, is the short answer. They were at City Council, Houston City Council, so I direct you to the comments that they made during City Council today. That's the latest information that we have. We, as the county, the judge, and my fellow commissioners, Centerpoint has been in frequent communication, as I know, with all levels of government. Them working on it and them not having seen an event of this magnitude, those facts are all true, and we know that for the 1.3 million who are still without power, that's not a satisfactory answer. So know that we are continuing to push, and we're focused on the immediate response, and we're focused on making sure we have the longer-term investments in the resiliency of our infrastructure and in terms of the energy transition. So this is where the county is doing what we can, and we cannot do it. For example, the Solar for All grant, which will augment the resources in Harris County. So we're getting support mainly from the federal government, which I'm so grateful to Congresswoman Fletcher and President Biden and the Biden administration. And we need to continue pushing, asking, requesting, demanding. This is an all hands on deck from the community because we're all proud Texans, and we need to make sure that the state is doing everything it can to augment what we're able to do with the federal government and local governments. So there's a lot more work to be done, and I'm a person of faith, and as a mom and me, I am praying because I know so many people are still suffering in their homes. So know that we'll do everything possible, and I know that it's not fast enough ever. So just know that as long as we're in office, both of them are dear friends, we won't stop because the people deserve better. So, Any other questions?
We have an update on the flu,
Oh.
so we're like over the way through. Sorry, but lightning was coming out, but we'll be part of the way.
Okay. So the distribution right now, unfortunately, is scheduled to end at 1, and that is right around the time when the food and water will be out. So the good news is we projected well for the 11 to 1 window. The bad news is we know the need is tremendous. So again, thank you to all of the corporate partners, the nonprofit partners, the individual philanthropically minded folks who have donated their time and treasure, because the truth is it's an all hands on deck. So there's so many ways y'all can donate and get involved and volunteer. But we want to do more, we're here to do more, and we need your help. One last question, yes.
Yes, any counts on how many people have come into the cooling center here?
Yes. So yesterday, the numbers at the cooling centers we had were approximately 500. Here at this center, do we have the latest number? It was around 200. It was around 200, but that was a couple of hours ago. So people are coming in and out. And we were encouraging at the distribution site. Some folks had heard about the distribution, but didn't know about the cooling center. And so we were inviting them to come because you could just see the complete and utter impacts of the heat. And so those numbers, and I'm waiting on the numbers of the other 4 centers, but this one has been the most active. And again, all ages, everyone is welcome, no questions asked. And if you have a crate, you can bring your pets too, because we've been getting a lot of concerns about our furry loved ones. So all are welcome here. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you, Commissioner. That'd be great.
Thank you, Mr. I appreciate you coming. And please send our thanks to
thank you
the
very much.
staff.
Yeah, I think she needs to do a quick picture.
Yeah, quick picture right here.
I'll get all the little guys here. Right here. Perfect.
Okay.